What's up, fam? Today I'm going to talk to you about agents. So if you are out of college, it's now time to look for an agent. Often I get asked, are agents helpful? Can they get me a professional contract? It can go a couple of different ways. So of course it depends on the level you're at. The first thing I would say is, how do you find these agents? So there's a couple ways to do that. LinkedIn is really good. Open combines are a great place. A lot of times there's pro coaches as well as agents. And I know in my case, the first time I got involved with an agent was I went to this combine where there were tons of coaches. I paid $500 after college. Went to this, basically it's a college showcase but for pro soccer players in order to sign a pro contract, and this agent came up to me and he was kind of the first to say, hey, I think you could become a pro, and if that's true, I want a piece of whatever money you're offered. And that was kind of also telling for me, because it was like, oh, I'm going to go pro no matter what, but now somebody else thinks that I might be able to go pro. So it was a big confidence booster. It's also really important because what it tells us is that from a parent perspective or a financial perspective, there's somebody else who thinks we might be able to go pro. So finding an agent is important. Ideally, it's better if they can see you in person. Of course, they may have to resolve to video. So you've reached out to LinkedIn, maybe you've gone to an open tryout, and still you have no agents reaching out to you. This is when you could be in a tough spot. You could still go to open tryouts. You don't really need an agent to go pro. I should have said that first. You definitely do not need one, especially nowadays. You go to an open tryout, you go to an invite tryout, you go to preseason, sign a contract. You don't need an agent the entire time. If you do get an agent, just as a reminder, they should only be taking 3 to 5%. 10% would be an extreme amount. 3 to 5% is somewhat reasonable. The way I worked with my agents was very different. If an agent wanted to work with me, the way I said it was, I'm not going to sign any contract. If you can get me a trial, I will pay you cash. I'll give you $200 if you get me a trial at San Antonio, for example. And if whether I signed a contract or didn't, I would give them the $200 and I would go on trial. That is better for the agents because now they know that if they invest their time in you, they're going to get something out of it, even if the coach of the team you go to doesn't sign a contract with you. Now, maybe financially you can't afford to do that, but if you really want to get the interest of agents, they need to make a living like the rest of us. Even if you say, here, I'll give you $50, and then upon signing my contract, we can make a deal. I know personally, especially if you're in the grind mode at the beginning of your career, signing with an agent can be actually quite restrictive because obviously once you've signed with one agent, you can no longer sign with any other agent, and that's really important to know because obviously you're under contract. So let's say you have an agent and you've signed a contract, you believed he would help you, and he's not really giving you that much. There's no calls coming in, and then another agent reaches out to you and says, hey, I can help you. Well, you can't really take their help. And you could try and connect one agent to another, but it doesn't really work. I do have an example for you, unfortunately. I was at Wilmington and I had an agent who was great. He was my first agent and he was a top agent. Like, he works now with top MLS players and he was a very good agent, and I wasn't like the top level recruit coming out of college, but I had signed with Sacramento Republic in great part because of this agent. So he saw me as a good prospect, and his influence helped me sign with Sacramento Republic. Anyways, I'm working with this agent, and I'm out of a contract at this point. I've played at Wilmington Hammerheads, and they've offered me another contract. They were in USL Championship 2016, and I was like, hey, I don't want to play in the USL anymore. I want to go abroad. And he didn't really have any connections. And another agent reached out, and he's like, I can send you to First Division in Israel. Zev is a Jewish name, so I can earn an Israeli passport, which would mean I wouldn't be a foreigner, and that would be a really good opportunity. First Division, of course, my goal to play in the Premier League, go to Maccabi Tel Aviv, you're playing Champions League, then you go to the best teams. It seemed like a great idea to me. So I had them connect to each other, and they wouldn't talk to each other. It was a disaster. And And eventually I had to break parties almost with both, and I was able to go to Israel, but it kind of turned into a mess. Story for another day. And point being, when you do sign with an agent, you can kind of get yourself locked in, which can be dangerous. Okay, sorry, going back to how to get yourself an agent. You've got LinkedIn. Another thing I would encourage you to do is, if you're not finding an agent, reach out to PSC, Soccer Visa, AX Soccer Tours, and those are the main three. And if you mention my name, they will pay attention to you regardless of your level, just because I've worked with all of them and they've all helped me in my career at some point. PSC, basically, for the first one, PSC, Pro Soccer Consulting, what they do is they are agents. They'll take you to countries abroad like Malta, Sweden, Iceland, sometimes Germany, all over the world, Asia. And if you can't find a contract here, they can be really helpful. You have to usually pay them up front, and often they'll put you as part of their team that they take on trial. You might get signed, you might not, but if you're looking for a pro contract and you can't find one in the USL and you've gone to the open tryouts and nobody's taking you, this is a good option to keep your quote-unquote dream going. And they're really nice guys. You can say Zev sent you. Tom is a great guy there, and Simon both know me well, and they're great people. Next is Soccer Visa. Soccer Visa is a really great one too. Their connections are mostly in Iceland. They have open tryouts. You pay to go to the open tryout. If they like you, they'll send you abroad. Then they act as your agent from there. The other one is AX Soccer Tours. They tend to send players to Denmark, Germany. They have connections elsewhere as well. You pay up front to go to the camp, then they become your agent. Look, this is an investment, as we all know. Maybe it shouldn't be as much as it is, but truth be told, going from an amateur college to then going pro is probably easier in America than it is in England or almost anywhere in the world, only because we have open tryouts. I mean, that's just unheard of. You don't get an open tryout at Chelsea, or say even a championship team or a League One team. You know, you have to be a top level player with an agent and have a connection. Here, any player can go to any open tryout and attract the coach or an agent. So in America, there's a great opportunity for that reason. All right, so now let's say you've got your agent, you're working with them regularly. Remember that they themselves have a lot of players. You are, say your USL contract's $1,000 a month, and they make 5% of that. That's, I think, $50, $500. Somebody do the math. Can't be 500. Must be $50. Less than that. $1,000. 10% of 1,000 is $100. So they're making 5%. So yeah, $50. That's not a living. So the only way they can make a living is if they have a ton of players, which inevitably means they're not going to be able to focus all their time on you. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you play great soccer, therefore your value goes up, they'll pay more attention, but sometimes that's in your favor, sometimes it's not. More importantly, please, please, please don't stop reaching out to teams on your own. Be the one that makes the coaches call the agent. What you really want to use your agent for is when you want to be the bad guy. So let's say you didn't like the offer that came in regards to the contract, and your agent wants to negotiate more. You are a soccer player. You don't really want to be negotiating with the coach or the general manager. Hey, I want $1,500, not $1,400. You know, it's just annoying, and you're the player, and that's not your relationship. You're just the soccer guy. That's when you want your agent to play a role and be the bad guy and have the GM be frustrated with the agent, not with you. That's really where I find the value of agents. In my case, the only time, okay, there were 2 times that an agent found me teams. The first was I went to an open tryout and I got an agent from the open tryout. He had connections in Sacramento Republic who were already interested in me before him. But when I was on trial there, he was able to speak to the coaches directly about me on a daily basis, and he would tell me, hey, they like you, keep doing what you're doing. Hey, today in training they said you struggled a bit, keep at it, they still like you. That gave me a ton of confidence. So that agent was super helpful. The second time was an agent helped me get to Israel. That was really helpful because they got me trials with first division and second division clubs, and that was because of an agent. I could not have done that on my own. Other than that, every other time, like for example, I got a trial with Toronto, that was because of me. I played against them, I reached out to the coach, sent them my game against them, and they said, hey, come on trial. Wilmington Hammerheads, when I got traded from Sacramento to Wilmington, that was me. I called the coach and said, hey, I'm out of contract, I know you from my college coach, can I come? Nothing to do with an agent. When I went to Sweden, nothing to do with an agent. There was a player that sent my video, and then I sent my video, and I switched teams. When I was in Sweden, there was an agent that did help me get a trial with a bigger club in Sweden, and that was because of the agent. So that's 3 times. So it does help. But the message here is do both. Reach out on your own and reach out with your agent. If you only reach out, if you just wait for your agent to reach out, it won't work. Now your agent's going to tell you, hey, you can't reach out to these teams because I've already reached out to them, and then you reach out to them, and now they're getting hit twice. So my strong encouragement to you is develop a relationship with your agent where you say, hey, this is the deal. You reach out and I reach out together. We're on a team here. So I'm going to reach out first, telling them to reach out to you, then you follow up and reach out to them again. Tag team them. You got to get the attention of these coaches. So you really want an agent that's on your team. So now I currently work with an agent that is out of Cameroon, believe it or not, and most players wouldn't want him, but he hustles. He calls like a maniac. He's fantastic. He's very kind to me as a person, which I really appreciate. I've been injured now for a year. He still texts me and wants me to be part of his team, which I'm incredibly grateful for. He believes in me as a player, thinks that I can play at the top levels, and he's stuck with me through everything at this point. And the most of all, we have an agreement. If he gets me a trial, I give him money. If I make a contract, I'll give him money. I don't really have anything signed. If another agent comes in, I can work with that agent. I have made it in that capacity because that is what is the best for my career. And you only get this career for so long. So I think it's really important if you can come to an agreement with your agent and go, hey, we're on a team. I think the notion is when you go pro, you're like, I'm a pro, and my talents will just get coaches looking at me. And my agent will do that for me. Not at this level. At this level, you got to reach out on your own, and there's not enough money at stake for these agents to spend their 10 hours a day to get you a contract. It just doesn't make sense. So you have to continue to do the reaching out. And that's what I would say. If these videos are, giving you help and you've enjoyed them, please like and subscribe. I would like to keep doing these videos, but I can only spend time on them if it begins a following of some kind. And again, I'm really grateful, and we'll talk soon. Peace.